first recipe that is the live stream on? Hi everyone. The first recipe is going to be khichdi. Khichdi is a traditional Indian recipe. It is basically a type of savory rice and lentil porridge. Both of the recipes that I'm going to teach you today are lentil recipes, and I'm also going to teach you a little bit about lentils themselves and why they're so important and why lentils are a necessary component of climate justice. We must be eating lentils if we want to defend the planet and life on this planet, and that is not a joke. People laugh when I say it. It's not a joke, although it is amusing. So we're going to start off. Hang on. Okay, just going to get some heat on here. I'm going to put the pot is on, and I'm putting it on like a kind of medium-high heat. I would normally use coconut oil for this, but for the purposes of ease, I'm using a little bit of olive oil. You have the recipe with you, so this is just a matter of like me showing you like how it's done, so that you don't flip out when you're at home and freak out and like never let the food know that you're afraid. Okay, it's really important. So what I'm doing is I'm basically heating the oil, and once I've heated the oil, can you hand me, these are stacked, Emily, and as I ask you to hand me each of them, I want you to hand me first this, then this, then this, okay? Yes, I've like got everything out and like put it into bowls that are in the right proportions and stuff, just to simplify my life. So Emily's going to help me with that. And when the oil is hot, we're going to add the mustard seeds in. Mustard seeds are this really amazing magical spice that you can use in any dish and it will make everything taste good. Okay, so if you're one of those people who's like, I'm trying to eat more plant-based food, but how do I make it taste good? Mustard seeds, okay? It'll save your life every time, multiple times, okay? And by the way, what I'm going to show you today is super simple, okay? It's so simple, it really is. So you don't need to like feel worried that you're going to mess it up or anything. It really is simple. So this oil is almost heated. Just going to put the heat up a little bit more. I prefer coconut oil just because it has a higher heat point and it's easier to cook spices in it. One of the key components of Indian cooking is that you would heat oil and you would add the spices into it, and that releases the flavor. That's really important because some people, they just stick everything in a pot and just throw it in, and then they're like, I don't understand why it's like not tasting the way it's, you know, the way it tastes when, you know, like Indian people cook it, and it's like because you don't know what you're doing with your spices. So what I'm showing you is really important. So can you hand me the mustard seeds? Okay, so these are mustard seeds. I'm just gonna hold it out for the benefit of the live stream. Hopefully they can see it. They're tiny, tiny little black balls of magic, okay? Or like sometimes they're described as like brown as well. And the oil is hot. See how they pop? That means the flavor is being released. That's when you add the rice. Now, when you're cooking any type of Indian food, basmati rice is the way to go, okay? Basmati rice is the only rice you should be using because Indians are food snobs and we will hate you if you use anything else. The other thing is that it's called the king of rice for a reason. It's extremely nutritious, it has a lot of protein in it, it's long, fluffy, and fragrant. So this is the best rice for any type of Indian cooking. So what I've done is I've added in the rice. Can you see that? Sorry, did I burn you? Sorry, trying not to burn you in here. Well, I'm gonna try. So I added in the oil, and what I did was I swirled it around to make sure that all of the rice grains are covered in the oil, okay? At this point, we'll add in the lentils. Yeah. So these lentils are split mung lentils, okay? The reason why I'm using split mung lentils is because they cook really fast, they're highly nutritious, and they are a key component of khichdi. So that helps. So swirl it around a bit more. At this point, not yet, I can't water it. So when you're cooking rice, for every part rice is 4 cups water. Okay, so like if you're using 1 cup of rice, it's 4 cups water. Okay, but because we've added lentils to this, we want to put extra, so we're putting 5 cups water. And because we're doing this on a pot, we're not doing this in a pressure cooker, we're going to need to add water further down the line because we want to make sure that it doesn't burn. So just going to add this water now. So added the water. At this point, I'm going to add the spices. So we're adding some chili powder right here, red chili powder. You know, there's lots of different types. Just plain red chili powder is fine. It's okay. So people will like, you know, kind of get a bit intense about it, but it's fine. Turmeric. Turmeric is essential. Okay, like it's essential in this dish in particular. So we're adding the turmeric in, and then this is salt. And I like a lot of salt, so I try to be conservative with it. Because, you know, not everyone likes a lot of salt. So you can just, you know, think about what makes sense for you and go with that. So in the recipe, it might be a little bit too much salt for you. So I'm just going to stir that. And now that that's all in there, I'm actually going to cover it and put it on the other burner so that it can cook. In a pressure cooker, this would cook in 15, 20 minutes flat. And then, you know, as soon as you open the pressure cooker, you could eat it, right? Because we're not using a pressure cooker, this is going to cook in about 40 minutes. So I want someone to set a timer. Who's got a timer? Awesome. So we're setting a timer for 40 minutes. Okay. And you want to cover that to make sure that too much water doesn't disappear on you. But you would want to put that on like a kind of medium high-ish heat to make sure that that cooks. Hey, how you doing? Now we're going to get started on the dal. And by the way, I don't know if you all noticed how simple that was. I stuck it all in a pot. I covered it. In 40 minutes, I'll have dinner. Okay. Now, what you can also do if you're really lazy like me is stick vegetables in it as well. And then that way you've got everything in one pot. If you don't want to do that, if you want to make a separate salad, or if you want to, you know, cook some vegetables separately, you can do that as well. All of that is fine. Convenience is my motto. So with the dal, we're actually going to do the same thing, but it's a slightly different combination of spices. We're going to get that olive oil in there. And then if you want to help me, we're literally going to go almost all of these. We're going to go like down to there, and then you're going to hand me the lentils, okay? Yeah, so do it like that. Does that make sense? Okay. So, water. Okay, so one thing that would be good for you to know is that these recipes that I'm giving you, even though they are, okay, actually, you know what, let's just go for it. So this is fenugreek. Fenugreek's going to go in first. Fenugreek is really necessary for dal because what fenugreek does is it has a bitter flavor, and that bitterness cuts through that earthy taste of the lentils. So that's why that will make your dal, okay? Then mustard seeds, then cumin seeds, and you hear all that popping and crackling, that's all the flavor being released. Now, ginger, fresh diced ginger, and red chili powder flakes. Now we're going to add in the lentils and stir. do that. Okay. I'm going to add the water in now. Notice how I step back when I was doing that, right? You don't want to be sticking your face in, trying to examine it, making sure you're doing the right thing. It's doing the right thing. Step back and pour that in. Okay, so I've got it on a medium heat. I'm going to add in tomatoes. So that's like 1 tomato, adding in some carrots. And the reason why I'm putting in the carrots is because, again, I'm lazy and I don't want to have to do it afterwards. So I'm doing it now so that it can all cook together. So, okay, now we use the other spices. Turmeric. This is a combination of cumin powder and coriander powder. That also is like really necessary. Salt. And this is brown sugar. Now, you don't have to put brown sugar in your dal, but because you've got some bitterness in there, the brown sugar helps to like balance that out, and it just tastes good. But not too much. If you want to be more health conscious, you can also use like pineapple juice or maple syrup or whatever. You can do that too. And you might even want to put that like if you're using maple syrup, I would recommend putting it in at the end so that you don't use too much of that like nutrition. So, has anyone in the room actually used a pressure cooker before? Okay, so some of you have, some of you haven't. Okay, so a pressure cooker is the cooker, the pot itself. It has a lid. In the lid is a ring that's necessary for the pressure to actually build up, right? Then it also has a whistle, which is detachable, and there's a valve here. Can you see that valve? See that valve? That's a valve. This is the whistle. This is the ring, okay? So these are the necessary components, and all you do is you fit it on the top. So you put it on, turn it on, and I'm gonna keep it on medium heat. And this needs 4 whistles. Because this is a slightly different lentil, normally I would use yellow duer, which is yellow split pea. We couldn't find that, so we're using a green lentil. So because of that, I'm going with 4 whistles instead of 3. That's the great thing about a pressure cooker, is that because of the, like, you can time how well it cooks by how many whistles go off. Okay, so it makes everything so much simpler. If you were making khichdi in the pressure cooker, it would be 3 whistles. If you have previously soaked the lentils, you wouldn't need to cook it for that long. You could do it for like 1 whistle or 2 whistles and then turn it off. So soaking does help, but you don't need to soak lentils the way you need to soak beans. So I'm going to give you a little bit of information on lentils. Why lentils? Okay, so it actually has the highest amount of protein by weight of any plant-based food. Okay, so in terms of like eating more plant-based food, eating less meat, for heat, for health, for climate reasons, for monetary reasons, it's cheap. It does have a massive amount of nutrition. It's easy to grow, right? It actually it grows in poor quality soil, right? So even if the soil isn't very good quality, it will still grow, and it's drought tolerant. So it grows even in like countries where there's not a lot of water. That's why it's such a brilliant like social justice food as well, because it's for everyone. Right? And it's cheap. The smaller the lentil, the higher the nutrition value. So it's not like this type of thing where, the more the better. Actually, with lentils, the less the better, right? As in, the smaller the better. So I've brought like some different lentils here so that you can see. So this, and I'm going to hand these around as well. This is whole green mung. Whole green mung. I just use split green mung for the khichdi. So this is whole green mung, very, very nutritious. And as you can see, it's pretty small. You can hand that around, actually. This is the split green mung, so the same thing as that, but just split. Cooks much quicker because it's split, okay? That's why I used it for this demo. This is also mung, but a different variety. This is mung dal. Dal basically means that it's more tender, it will melt easier. And this can also be used in khichdi. These are like, the three that I'm handing around are like the three like most popular that can be used in khichdi itself. So you can hand that around too. This is yellow tuer. Yellow tuer. This is also normally used in dal in my particular region, in my particular caste, family, all of those things. Different regions and different castes will have their own traditional practices about what they use, right? But the beautiful thing about lentils is there's so many varieties, okay? So don't just like, because all you see in the Western grocery store, like all you see is the green stuff and you don't really like that, so you're not really going to eat them. Go to an Indian store, okay? Go and get lentils there. And by the way, you know, that's where the money should be going anyway, to the people who actually grow. Okay, so that's food justice right there. Okay, get your spices at you know, whether it's an Indian store, whether it's some other store like owned by people of color. That's where you should be giving your money. When it comes to rice, I used American basmati rice here because that's what we had. That's terrible. Never use it. Okay, it's like the grossest thing in the whole world. It is not basmati. It is a lie, and it is cultural appropriation. Okay, this particular rice, you can tell that it's not basmati because it's shorter and it's almost fatter, and it kind of has this like, it kind of has this weird, gross kind of sheen to it that basmati shouldn't have unless you cook it. Real basmati is thinner, longer, and when you cook it, it will fluff up and it's fragrant. The older rice is, the better. Okay, the older rice is the better. My grandfather always told me that you would buy rice for the year, you would buy a whole lot of it, you wouldn't buy, you know, in tiny little bags every week. That's ridiculous, and it's not like, it's not efficient. So you would buy a whole load of it and you would store it for the next year, right? The reason why is because the older the rice is, the more it fluffs up, which means you need less to feed more, right? That's food justice too. Don't waste food. So in the West, everyone's like, buy everything fresh. That's not how it works when it comes to rice, when it comes to lentils. Lentils you can buy and use a year later. They will not go bad as long as you keep them in a cool, dry place. That's another thing, right? Don't waste food. They're cheap. You can store them. You can also, you know, move with them, right? Like you don't need a fridge. You just need to put them in a cabinet where they're going to stay cool and dry. Lentils also have the most alkaline of all protein sources, right? That makes it much healthier. That means that it's not going to cause inflammation in your system. So especially for people who suffer from things like acid reflux and various other problems that are caused, by the way, most diseases caused by inflammation, okay? So if you want to be healthy, you want to eat more of an alkaline diet, lentils will give you that. One amazing thing about lentils is as they grow in the soil, they actually increase the nitrogen and other nutrients in the soil, right? So they're not just taking out, they're giving back, right? That's food justice. That's climate justice, because we need to ensure that the earth that we're using, we're not just taking from her, we're also giving back, right? So these are all these reasons, and it's pretty miraculous and it's pretty incredible. And in fact, most of the world eats lentils on a regular basis. It's only in the rich white countries where we eat a lot of meat that people do not sustain themselves with mostly lentils. Thank you. Oh, you can send these around. And this variety of lentil is called urad. This is white urad. You can also get black urad. There are many different varieties. And in my tradition, you would actually have a different lentil every day. So urad you would have on a Saturday. Mug you would have on a Wednesday. Chickpeas you would have on a Thursday, and so on and so forth. And those were like spiritually prescribed, or culturally prescribed rotations to ensure that you're getting a wide variety of nutrients and you're making sure that you're actually eating lots of different things, which is going to be healthier for you. Lentils, this is a really big one. They need less water to grow than a lot of meat-based protein that a lot of people eat, okay? So for every gram of protein that we get from lentils, you need 5 gallons of water to produce that. To produce 1 gram of protein in beef, you need 30 gallons of water, okay? That's a huge issue. It's massive. And the majority of water that is wasted is a serious food justice issue, okay? So that is something that you have to keep in your mind about not only what you're eating and how it's good for you, but how it's good for the planet and how it's good for other people, okay? How it's good for other people. So yeah, so at that point, we're gonna let this cook and I'm gonna get into the presentation. So we're gonna halt the live stream and then after I'm done with the presentation, we're gonna go into Q&A and that's when we'll turn the live stream on again, okay? We'll see you later, bye.